It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
You want to show off?
Uh-oh.
This is going to be a Brian show off one. You ready?
Oh, no.
This is from Mary. She said, how does tax loss harvesting work? I need to simplify my equity portfolio by selling the individual stocks from years ago and focus more on, I think this is a total market ETF. So she said, what is loss harvesting? How does it work? What's the benefit of it? Is this something I should do?
Yeah.
All the things.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Tax loss harvesting, it is one of those nerdy financial mutant skill sets or tools that you can use, but it's really beneficial, especially when we're going through periods of volatility like we have been at the start of 2022, is because what happens is that as you've been buying investments, there's a chance some of your investments are not all winners.
Right.
You've actually got some losses there. We like the thought of taking those losses. You essentially lock them in because now look, a lot of you are probably saying, well, wait a minute, how much does the government let me deduct on my tax return? It's only $3,000, but the good news is the government lets you carry it over indefinitely so you can lock in the loss, and then as your portfolio recovers and starts making money, you will offset future gains. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, wait a minute, isn't this kind of, am I really changing anything? Because if I'm locking in a loss today, but we know 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now, these same investments that I bought at such lower prices, they're just going to have bigger gains embedded in them. Didn't I just kind of wash out the situation? No, because here's where financial mutant bonus point territory is. What I love about harvesting losses, meaning you lock in the losses that will offset future gains, because you reset your basis at a much lower number and you probably have a bigger gain built into that future thing. Now, if you're a charitably minded person, you can donate and fulfill your charitable desires and commitments with those appreciated holdings through like a charitable gift fund at like Fidelity or Charles Schwab or some of those other things. This is, and maybe, I don't know what Mary's financial situation is, but this is kind of that advanced planning stuff that we talk about that financial mutants get into after they graduated past target retirement funds, the index versions. This is exactly the type of stuff, the high caliber type things and planning strategies you're looking at for our clients as well as for financial mutants, because you're maximizing the opportunity every dollar that comes into your control. Yeah,
here's what I love specifically about loss harvesting, because I'm an investments guy. That's kind of the thing that gets me going. Loss harvesting allows you to be a better, more effective, more efficient rebalancer in the future.
That's even another.
That's one of the. So what is loss harvesting, right? I have a position and it loses value. I sell that position, lock in that loss, and I go buy something not identical, not the same thing, but something similar, and then I make the money back there. And all that happened on paper was I just clipped and kept that loss. Well, if I can do that in the fourth quarter of 2018 when there's like a big market downturn, and if I can do that in the COVID downturn of 2020, and maybe if I have an opportunity to do that here in the first quarter of 2022, I can just accumulate all those losses. Well, maybe the next 5 years does really, really well. And maybe my S&P 500 large cap fund makes 10%, and then 12%, and then 15%. And all of a sudden, I really only want to have a 45% allocation to S&P 500, but it's grown to 55%. Well, normally, if I were to sell that inside of my taxable account, I'd have to, sell down that 10% and recognize capital gains on that gain. If I've been perpetrating this strategy of clipping those losses, when I go to rebalance and sell down that gain position, I can then use those past losses that I've been carrying forward to offset that. So what it allows me to do is through time, it allows me to not allow my portfolio to drift too far along the risk spectrum and have to trigger taxes to get it back down on the risk spectrum. It's just a mechanism that allows me to be a better field general of my army of dollar bills.
Now, I do like the idea of using it as a rebalance, because that lets you sell, lock in the loss, and then you redeploy that into another asset class, a different type of investment. But there are going to be some people that just want to use this tool as an ability to lock up the loss, and they want to redeploy it right back into the markets. So if you think about it in those terms, a lot of you are probably saying, does that mean I have to sit out there on the sidelines? Because I've heard of this thing called a wash sell, meaning that when you lock in a loss, it's not like the government says, you know what, just go rebuy the same investment. We'll let you take that loss on paper. No worry, no harm. No. They tell you if you got basically a 30-day window, you have to sit on the sidelines or do something different because we can't take this loss in the same period of time. So you need to figure out the why. That's why the asset allocation is very important. But if you are deciding you still need something that's growth or similar, it can't be the same investment. You've got to figure out something. Maybe it's similar, maybe it's also growth, but you do need to redeploy it in something different. Right. Because, I don't love the thought of selling, waiting 30 days, and then rebuying the same asset. There's only a few small, limited situations where that comes into play.
Sure.
A lot of times you are redeploying that money somewhere else, but you just don't want to run afoul of the tax rules.